There's a quiet exhaustion that no one talks about. It isn't the tiredness that comes from a long day. It isn't the ache from lifting or running. It's a deeper fatigue, a fatigue that lives in your thoughts, your nerves, your soul. You show up, you answer the calls, you reply to the messages, you scroll, you react, you process, you manage. Mentally, you are available. Every ping, every notification, every demand, your mind responds. Emotionally, you are empty, because being constantly reachable, constantly responsive, constantly on comes at a cost. And that cost is not something you see until it's already draining you dry. It starts small. You stay up a little later to finish that email. You answer a message at 11 p.m. because someone needed reassurance. You check notifications one more time before bed, and the next morning, your mind is already racing before your eyes even open. You tell yourself it's just temporary. Tomorrow I'll rest. But tomorrow never comes, because in a world that expects you to be perpetually available, rest is optional and boundaries are optional, and slowly, quietly, something begins to fray. You notice it in little ways first, a pang of irritation when someone asks for your time, a sense of numbness when a friend shares their excitement, a hollow feeling when you accomplish something meaningful, but no one notices because everyone else is still demanding your attention. And over time, the exhaustion grows. You realize you are always present for everyone else, yet absent for yourself. This is the paradox of modern life. Your mind is constantly engaged, your heart is constantly drained, and your soul quietly pleads for space that never comes. Why does this happen? Because the world doesn't just demand your attention. It expects your emotional labor as well. Being mentally available is easy. Responding to a message, completing a task, showing up for someone's needs. That's almost automatic. But emotional availability, the part where you truly feel, empathize, and connect, requires energy. And when you give it all away without replenishing yourself, the well runs dry. You start to feel irritable for no reason. You lose patience for the people you love. You stop enjoying the things that once brought you joy. You feel disconnected from yourself, yet constantly connected to everyone else. And here's the cruel truth: no one else notices. Because in a culture that glorifies constant availability, your exhaustion is invisible. Your burnout is ignored. Your fatigue is normalized. You scroll past posts that tell you to work harder, stay on top, don't stop. You consume advice about productivity while your mind quietly begs for rest. You hear slogans about hustle while your emotional reserves quietly vanish. And slowly, day by day, you learn a dangerous lesson. Being always available is rewarded. Being drained is invisible. You sacrifice your peace, your energy, your mental clarity for the illusion of connection and productivity. We check our phones in bed, in the bathroom, even during meals. We respond to texts while the people around us speak. We answer work emails after hours. Because what if we fall behind? The world doesn't stop for us. It will never stop. And the more we try to keep up, the more exhausted we become. We confuse being mentally present with being emotionally healthy. We believe that managing tasks, responding to messages, and being alert equals fulfillment. But it doesn't. Because fulfillment is emotional. Fulfillment is quiet. Fulfillment is knowing that you are aligned with yourself, not just everyone else. You begin to see it in the cracks, the impatience, the apathy, the emptiness, the subtle resentment toward obligations, the quiet fear that if you don't respond, the world will move on without you. And in this state, nothing feels enough. Nothing feels satisfying. Everything feels heavy. And that's because your emotional system is exhausted, even though your mind is working overtime. Mentally available, emotionally exhausted. This is the modern paradox. And it doesn't have to stay this way. You cannot change the world. You cannot slow down everyone else. But you can reclaim yourself. You start by noticing. Notice how often your attention is demanded. Notice how often your emotional energy is given without replenishment. Notice the fatigue before it becomes despair. Then you start saying no. Not rudely, not aggressively, not for the sake of rebellion. No is your lifeline. No is reclaiming a piece of yourself that has been lost. No is creating boundaries where none existed. No is the beginning of emotional recovery. You start small. 1 hour offline each day. 1 meal without your phone. 1 conversation where you are fully present with yourself. You start replenishing your emotional reserves. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You create mental space. You create emotional space. You reclaim energy that was quietly stolen by constant availability. And slowly, over time, the exhaustion eases, the apathy fades, the impatience dissolves. You begin to feel again, truly feel. You reconnect with your own needs, desires, and values. You realize that boundaries aren't selfish. They are essential. They are survival. They are freedom. Being mentally available is easy, but being emotionally available requires energy. And protecting that energy is the greatest act of self-respect you can practice. Because when you reclaim your energy, you don't just survive, you thrive. You start showing up for yourself the way you show up for everyone else. You start feeling your emotions again. You start enjoying life again. You start living intentionally instead of constantly reacting. And in a world that never stops asking, never stops demanding, never stops intruding, this becomes your superpower. The ability to be present without losing yourself. The ability to respond without giving away your peace. The ability to connect without depleting your soul. Mentally available, emotionally exhausted. That phrase doesn't have to define you. It can be a turning point. A reminder that growth, discipline, and intentional daily upgrades are not about doing more. They're about doing better for yourself. It's about reclaiming the quiet power of your mind. It's about protecting the sacred space of your emotions. It's about designing a life where availability is a choice, not a requirement. And if this resonates with you, it means you're ready for more than motivation. On this channel, we don't chase temporary inspiration. We build sustainable habits. We upgrade identity, mindset, and emotional resilience, one day at a time. Subscribe to Daily Upgrade Motivation and commit to showing up for yourself first every single day. Because being mentally available while emotionally exhausted isn't inevitable. It's a signal to reclaim your energy, your focus, and your life. And when you do, you will stop just surviving and start truly thriving.